Real quick, before we get started, if you're gonna use the new privacy screen on the Galaxy S26 Ultra, what's the main thing that you're doing on your phone that you don't want other people to see? Hey, it's Jason. This is the new Galaxy S26 Ultra, Samsung's newest creme de la creme flagship smartphone, the 7th iteration of the company's go big or go home device. And much like I do every year, I'm trying to figure out if this phone is worth the wallet-crushing $1,299 price tag. And I have to say, I have been surprised at how much I've enjoyed the Ultra lineup up to this point despite the heavy cost to entry. Samsung has a reputation of not pulling any punches with these phones, and it's not changing that mindset when it comes to the new S26 Ultra. So I decided to pick one up on release day, and I've been using it every day for about a week now, going through all of the new features and really pressure testing everything this device has to offer, all in an effort to help you decide if the Galaxy S26 Ultra is the right phone for you. And before we get into it, a real quick plug for the JSL newsletter. I send subscribers out a brand new full-res wallpaper every single week, as well as links to really good tech deals and fun articles written by me. It's totally free. The link to subscribe will be in the description down below. Okay, first, let's talk about the physical design of the new Galaxy S26 Ultra. I think Samsung is doing something here that, honestly, I'm not a big fan of, but let's start with what we know first. So from a form factor standpoint, the S26 Ultra retains a lot of the design elements that were part of last year's S25 Ultra with its extra large dimensions and massive 6.9-inch screen. Perhaps taking a cue from Apple, Samsung ditched the titanium frame they've been using for a couple years now and returned to aluminum. Now, I'm sure they're going to use the same rationale about better thermal management, as aluminum does dissipate heat better than titanium, but I'm just gonna say it, I don't like this change. Titanium is a much stronger and tougher build material, and as snobby as this might sound, it's more premium and something that I feel should be on the Ultra. And unlike Apple, who went with a unibody metal design to try and shake things up, I feel as though Samsung reverted to an older design approach that doesn't exactly scream upgrade. Don't get me wrong, the aluminum frame is fine and the phone is still superbly put together, but I'm of the mindset that the Ultra version of the Galaxy lineup should have some areas of the phone that use better build materials than the regular versions. Now, another new design element with the S26 Ultra is that it brings back a camera housing, albeit a small one. I do like this change, as I've always criticized the camera area of the previous Ultra as being a bit too minimal, making the phone lack some kind of identity. And even though I miss the good old days where Samsung used to have a lot of fun in this area, it does give the phone a slightly more refined look for 2026. Now, another subtle change that comes with the S26 Ultra is that it has slightly more rounded corners than before. Samsung started this transition away from the sharp boxy corners that the Ultra was kind of known for last year with the S25 Ultra, and it looks as though the company is wanting to continue down this path. And look, I don't necessarily have a problem with the aesthetics, despite it coming off a lot more tame compared to the aggressive looks of the past, but at this point, I'm just gonna say it, Samsung Pro Maxified the Ultra. This is now just a bigger version of the S26 Plus from a physical design standpoint, and it really doesn't have any distinguishing features that separates it from the non-Ultra variants. And it kind of makes me sad because I like that the Ultra used to have its own identity in a rather bold and unapologetic way, and now I feel as though it's kind of lost its soul. Okay, that's a bit dramatic, and again, I don't think that this phone looks bad, but with all of the strange design choices that have been made, I personally feel as though this is the least Ultra-looking Galaxy Ultra device the company really has ever made. Now, I'm happy to say, despite my rather somber review of the Galaxy S26 Ultra's physical design, it does still have a good amount of tricks up its sleeve when it comes to features and performance. And without question, the most attention-grabbing new feature to make its way to this device is the privacy screen that blacks out your display unless you're looking directly at your phone. I gotta say, this is super impressive, as the engineering that went into the hardware to allow for this capability is pretty mind-blowing. It's probably one of the most simple but useful features to make its way to a smartphone in a very long time. Now, it does come at a cost, however, as it does lower the resolution of the screen when it's in use, and it does make the normal viewing angles not the best. I would say that this is a rather small price to pay, as it doesn't infringe on the user experience too heavily, and it's pretty simple to turn on and off as needed. The Galaxy S26 Ultra also comes with the new Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 chip for Galaxy, and as to be expected, it's an absolute beast of a processor. Navigating around One UI is silky smooth and lag-free, and the 120Hz refresh rate never throttles even during spec-intensive gaming, and even though I'd say most of this is gimmicky, there are a lot of AI features that this phone can execute really well if you're into that kind of thing. Samsung's never been shy to throw spaghetti onto a wall to see what sticks, and it looks as though that's what they're doing with AI now, and even though some of these features are fun to play around with, I find most of them to be parlor tricks that really don't add too much value. Now, what's disappointing in this area for the S26 Ultra is the battery. It's the same 5000 mAh battery that it's been using since forever. It still performs good and can easily get through a full day of pretty heavy use on a full charge, but come on dude, the Pixel 10a has a bigger battery than this. And what's even more egregious is that there's still no MagSafe compatibility with this phone, a feature that I feel as though would have been low-hanging fruit to really make the S26 Ultra more appealing, as it wouldn't have been too difficult to add. Now, you still get the S Pen, which is nice to see, and for those that actually use it, it does continue to perform really well, almost zero latency, which really is quite impressive. But let's get into camera performance. The Galaxy S26 Ultra primarily retains the same camera suite that it's had for multiple years now. So you still get the somewhat hyped 200 megapixel main camera, a 50 megapixel ultra wide, and a 5x zoom. You also get a 10 megapixel 3x zoom and a 12 megapixel selfie camera. Now, you do get wider apertures for some of the cameras on the back, which does allow for more light to get into the sensor and for better natural depth of field, but the still image performance overall is just slightly better than before. The pictures are sharp and vibrant and generally come off looking excellent, but they still apply a bit too much digital correctioning, especially with the sharpening, and it can make your images come off artificial at times. Now, you do get a lot of pro-level controls baked into the camera app, however, if you really want to fine-tune your settings, which is actually pretty nice if you take mobile photography seriously. Now, when it comes to video, one of the best features Samsung implemented this year is their new Horizon Lock. When you toggle this feature on, it basically stabilizes and locks in the camera's horizon even when you're rotating this phone around, which is kind of magical. This is super useful for run and gun shooting and getting action footage, as you have a lot more flexibility with camera shake, and this type of feature is something that up to this point has been exclusive to top-end action cameras and is a really smart addition to the S26 Ultra. And generally speaking, the video that you're able to get on this phone is really good, probably the best in my opinion coming out of any non-iPhone, and you do get a good amount of pro video features as well, and it's nice to see Samsung continually improving in this area of the camera. So after all is said and done, is the Galaxy S26 Ultra worth it? This is actually a lot harder for me to answer than I thought it was going to be, mainly because this phone kind of messes with my emotions. On one side, I feel as though Samsung somewhat neutered the spirit of the Ultra out of this phone with its more passive design and lack of identity, and I'm left missing the Ultra that used to be such a bold and loud device. But on the other side, I'm kind of blown away at some of these new features that I feel are really well executed and smart, so it's got me going back and forth on my overall thoughts on this phone. I would say if you're coming from an older phone and you want to make the leap into the Ultra, you will probably enjoy this version of the phone, as I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with it. But if you're a value shopper, however, I would highly recommend looking into a renewed S25 Ultra, as you can pick them up on Amazon for less than $800 right now, and that's a bargain at that price. Now, we'll see how this phone grows on me over time, and I will be doing longer term reviews on it, so make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on those. And let me know what you guys think about the S26 Ultra. Do you have mixed feelings like me? Or do you have a firm position on it? Curious to get your thoughts, let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments down below. And in case you guys missed my review of the new Google Pixel 10a, make sure to check it out here, you're not going to want to miss it.